You want to make the introductions right now, or
I guess I'll go first then. Then in this case, like I go by Felza online. I am a part of the 86 Discord, and primarily I'm a source reader. And I read the Japanese version of the novels as well as watch the anime. And my primary contributions to the series is mostly doing the translations for the Blu-ray interviews with the directors and behind the scenes. All right. Next, do you want to go for it, Viva?
Okay, I could go next, yes. Sure. Well, I go by Viva St. Pauli. That's the long version, but people just call me Viva. How did I start with 86? I think, well, I watched the first episode and I don't know, I was so interested that I just bought all the light novels and started reading them. And well, it might be the same experience for you too. Like when you started them, you just couldn't put them down, and then within like 2 or 3 days, well, not 3 days, but maybe like a week, I was done with them and couldn't wait for more. And yeah, that's how I joined the subreddit. And after a while, I also joined the Discord server, and that's how it came to be for us, I guess. How I became part of this community as well on the Discord server. Well, you talked about contributions. I don't really know if I have any besides maybe like stupid shit posts and stuff like that. You might have seen some of them on Twitter or I don't know where. This should be out there. If you've seen one of mine, you probably know.
All right, Zeri, go for it.
Alright, yeah. I go by Zenry the Bard online, or just Zenry. I got into 86 when I believe it was the second volume came out in English, so I did not have the luxury of reading it all at once like Viva did. And as you know, with volume 2, it's one story with volume 3, so it was a pain to wait for that. I didn't join the community until recently. No, I joined the Discord in 2020, but I didn't become active until the anime came out. For the most part, my contributions to 86 are being the wiki administrator and translating Fragmental Neoteny. Oh yeah, I also wrote some fan fictions on AO3.
All right, and that would be the three of us. We met and decided to do this on the 86 Discord, so that's where we all came from.
Hopefully we get more people on here soon.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we have a lot of interesting people.
more well-spoken people. Yes, please.
That too. Okay, so this is going to be, first of all, a recap of episode 19 of 86, and after that, we will be talking about our own speculations for the rest of the series going on to the end due to some special scheduling conflicts that might be coming up. The way the series is going to end might differ from your usual anime. Yeah, might differ from your usual anime. So we will be talking about that as well, and how that content might be how the content might be split up between the episodes. And so, well, that's roughly what we're going to be talking about today. And I think we can start with the episode. All right. So, how about Viva? You start off, and yeah, do you want to recap for the what's happening?
We could. So we start with the continuation of the longest 9-minute flight ever, I guess. That lasted 2 weeks of the Nachtzehrer, the stealth airplane, or the stealth. What did Aboga call it?
It's a ground effect aircraft.
Some Ekranoplan or something like that. Some big boy that's flying at really low altitudes, and so they fly into Legion territory. Grete does like a I don't know, not really a nosedive. She like flies it up a bit, and then after that she ejects them out on some platforms, which actually was not in line with how it was shown in the OP. That was just like a simple foreshadowing, I guess, with how they fly through the sky, something like that. I don't really recall it that well. And here it was just, I think they actually posted a link earlier as well in the channel about how this is really like some concept based in real life as well. How they like lower them with parachutes on some kind of platform so they can land normally without crashing. And yeah, then they land in the Legion territory where they start fighting immediately, and we have some little back and forth between the headquarters in Giat. Don't really remember the name of. It was some fancy Norse name. I'd have to look it up. But
Lay
like
Layrather.
yeah, later. Which is actually fun fact. Another alternative name of Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life in Norse mythology. Just a little tidbit there. Where was I? Yeah, they land in Kreuzberg City, the city where the Morpho was last spotted. Well, they have a small skirmish with the local Legion forces until they find the damaged Morpho that was damaged by the missile attack they did like a few weeks prior. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, I guess. And then they are shocked that it is actually operational again, or so it seems. And we see it like charging up and trying to shoot. But then actually it's just a diversion. And Kiriya actually downloaded into another Morpho, fully functional, like, I don't know, a few kilometers away. There was a really nice panorama shot showing how it is far, far away on the outskirts of town on some damaged power lines or some how was it called? How did you say it? Like electric, what was it?
It's like some high voltage power line or something.
High voltage power tower, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to no surprise, it starts blasting, like full on high beaming them, like a big shot that takes out a good part of the city. Well, most of it was the shockwave of it, but it really had a big effect on them. They survive, of course, but what was next? I think.
Yeah, it was the part with Ernst.
The part of what?
Yeah.
Oh, right, with his grand speech about his idealism, how he follows his ideals or they die, basically. Just he won't compromise on certain things. So yeah, then they switch back to Shin, and the mission carries on. They actually had some plans on how to approach it with the was it distraction, like missile fire from Anju, trying to
Yeah, it was.
yeah, you continue.
It was first like it was explosive rounds from all the others, and then it was Anju's, and then Shin goes in.
Yeah, he goes on with one concentrated shot, which didn't really land all that well. Just pings off the armor of the Morpho. Yeah, but this is the point where Shin actually starts to lose himself again in battle, where he starts to ignore everyone else, just charges straight ahead into it. Like, I don't, it's not really bloodlust, more like a trance, I guess. Just the Shin despair spiral, basically. Kind of starting to mirror Kiriya again. We have some nice imagery there as well. I don't know if you remember, like the cuts between them, or the switch between their faces, like getting faster and faster and faster until they like melt into one image of despair. Really interesting. So yeah, Shin charges well ahead and tries to get closer to Kiriya to, I don't know, get a range to fire again. And then we get the first perspective change in this core, like what Ishii liked to do in the first core, where we get basically this scene again from Kiriya's perspective. And we hear the first real conversation between him and No Face. Before that, we only heard him once, I think. No Face, yeah, at the end, at the start of the one episode. This was a really interesting scene as well, because you could really see, in the light novel, it's explained as just him overriding Kiriya, and here you can really see it, how he does it. Like the audiovisual representation of it is really nice. Like he just cuts off and gets restarted basically after he screams. Like he falls silent, and his emotions are gone. Basically, he just follows the orders and he retreats. And on the other side, Shin is forced to do the same as well. He's forced by his comrades, actually, because of some friendly fire shot from Kurena, trying to get him to snap out of it, which eventually succeeds. And remind me, what was after that?
The flashback.
Oh, the flashback, right. We see Kiriya retreating afterwards from his perspective, and then something happens that we actually didn't think would happen still, because we actually got past that part already, where Frederica already explained her backstory and how she and Kiriya basically led this life in some secluded castle or some what it was, at the end of the war. And yeah, we get a nice flashback to how they spent their days there, like leading some resemblance of a normal life, I guess. And yeah, he reminisces about it, but then we get a hard cut, like how Ishii likes to do it. It's more like a flash of, like a still image of him sparing at the end, just before he dies, I think. I don't know how you see it. It was like this really manic face of him, like his face smeared in blood and stuff like that. And yeah, I think after that we cut to them at the temporary base. No, not sure. So the scene with Fred in hiding in Fido's container or something like that, where she pretends to be a cat. I'm not
That's a
sure.
bit later.
It's a bit
Well,
later.
first you have to do. First that happened was confirming greatest.
One of you can, yeah, one of you can actually continue if you want to. I don't really have to do all of
Okay.
it.
All right, should I do that?
Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Yeah. So next up, you have the scene with Shin, the commanding officer Willem. They're basically talking about how the Spearhead Squadron can retreat if they want to, but obviously Shin does not want that, and they have a little back and forth about you really should retreat or how they really should continue. In the end, they do. Then you have the scene at this new base at Kreuzberg where Willem has this little neat conversation with Greta where he was reminiscing about her dead fiance. You can really infer from this scene that Shin was like Greta's dead fiance. Was the taming dialogue in the episode, or was that a novel only?
I'm not
That
sure
was with
actually.
Richard. Yeah, that was with
That was
Richard. The taming
Okay.
dialogue was with Richard.
Yeah. So Willem was basically saying like, okay, you managed to tame your dead fiance, but you couldn't manage to tame Shin. And Greta's
Yeah.
like, well, of course I couldn't. Why would I get this kid to really worry about me?
Hmm.
And next up, so you have Frederica hiding inside Fido, pretending to be a
Hmm.
cat. And her voice actor
Yeah.
here is really great.
Yeah,
And
she sells it really well. Yeah.
oh yeah, in the previous scene as well, Fido was like sweating bullets, which was funny. So Shin kicks Fido and gets him to open up the trolley behind him. Fred steps out. Theo gets mad a bit, and then Federico goes through that whole spiel again, where why are you doing this? Why are you fighting like there's no tomorrow for you? Why are you fighting to deaths? Why are you trapped in the 86th sector? And everyone's just like kind of silent to that. She goes on to continue like, "Yeah, I'm this hostage for you guys, so you have to come back alive." And Shin has a conversation with Raiden where could he somehow take her back to where the main forces are, and Raiden says absolutely not. So they decide that she would be riding with Raiden. I think the reason was that Raiden's like the least mobile of them. No wait, he was the one with that required the least concentration, I believe. So that's why she was going to be riding with him. And
Yeah.
Since Raiden's position in the team is actually more of a support unit with
He suppression
his
fire.
machine
Yeah.
gun rather than instead of having to be in the midst of the combat like Theo or Shin.
yeah, because like with Kurena's not really mobile, but she has to concentrate, and same applies with Anju still. And this next line from Raiden, I think it went like, even if you weren't doing this, we weren't going to fight to die. So I think that really shows how different Raiden is from the rest of Spearhead, right? It shows how he's really adjusted to thinking about the future.
It's also because he lived. I think he's the one of the five who lived a normal life the longest as well. No? Like he got most of a taste of how you live normally. I think because of he was like in an orphanage for a few more years. I think. Well, he's not the oldest, but one of the oldest at least.
Yeah, he's the one who's like most emotionally mature.
Yes, that as well.
And then you have Shin just casually tossing his pistol to Frederica and tells her to kill herself if they do fall in battle, which
Yeah.
is depressing. The way he just like chucked it over without any emotion is like, hey, kill yourself if we do fall. It really shows how like fucked up his mind is right now.
I mean, it looks like it's like a brutal line, but if you think about it, it's really just him being his way of being compassionate, like quick
Yeah,
death.
it's his
Yeah,
kindness.
it's kindness. It's his way of showing kindness. Yes.
Yeah, it's kindness, but it's fucked up kindness. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
Yeah.
detached from like it's not it's a detachment from like general human sympathy and how we think of it. You don't just tell a child to go off yourself if shit
Yeah,
hits
for
the
sure.
fan. Yeah.
Any normal human would be like, hey, use this, use it to defend yourself however you can, but Shin's just like straight to the suicide point. Next up you have, I think they just like, the episode ends there, right? They go out for a meal with their MREs, and then the episode ends there with the Morpho shot playing with Alchemilla.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be the end of episode 19, yeah.
So do we want to go back to any specific scene? You want to talk about it more?
I think for what we want to talk, let's get this thing out of the way. Is first, I think we can get out of the way most of the combat in this. We can probably get that out of the way first, since I don't think it bears repeating that the the centerpiece of this episode is very much the Morpho, since this is its big debut and this is the first look we have at a very different Legion from what we have usually seen in the episodes, where there are usually the same few variety of legions, and there is this now hypersized massive legion that is extremely dangerous and destructive as well, that is now introduced. And all praises to the 3D animators for this series, Shirogumi, for making that version of a legion move on screen, because as the author herself, Asato, said as well, originally when they had this design for the novels, they had never imagined that this would be animated. But well, now it is. So, and it looks glorious.
Even if it didn't move much, it was still impressive.
Yeah.
She even tweeted out like, good job to Shirogumi, but next episode's gonna be even more of a hell for them.
Yeah.
We were doom posting on the 86 chord, right, where like there's no way they're gonna make all those legs move.
Yeah.
But they did.
They
They
did.
did.
They absolutely did.
Also, talking about that, there's an enemy in later volumes that will probably need to be animated as well in that fashion. So I guess we can have some hope at least that they can do it, that they can pull it off.
Yeah, one detail that we pointed out earlier off recording was the blast from the Morpho shot. If you look at it carefully, it sort of protrudes outwards in a cone-like shape, which is a interesting detail. It starts off from one point and then like shocks out forwards, which would make sense since it's like shooting straight down.
It doesn't just get dropped from top, from like a bomb from an airplane. It's just because it's actually a railgun, like we said, and gets propelled forward, and thus the blast as well. So that makes sense, I guess.
It's also different from the earlier Morpho shot we had with the FOB, where the
Yeah.
FOB was just like, it was just a straight like, circular.
It's like a
blast
mortar
radius.
shot, like a long distance drop from up high, basically. And this one was like a direct shot,
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably because of the distance.
Yeah, probably.
The shot itself, yeah, it's a tiny blast radius, but a lot of damage in the surrounding area.
Yeah.
And the whole effect where there's a conal, but rather like a circular space of like just all the lights in the area lighting up and then exploding.
Yeah, overloading all the electrics and yeah.
Yeah.
So,
In
nice
that moment, and a wave formed outwards until the landing location of the shot, which was where the old Morpho was at. So that entire sequence is, well, I think it's pretty beautiful. There's a as much as
yes,
it's terrifying to see the destructive power on screen.
Yeah, I think they, like I said, the dimensions they really portrayed that well with the panorama shots of the city, and like in comparison to the Morpho itself, like we know this was like a more modern city with relatively tall buildings, like 4 or 5 stories up, and then you see this panorama shot of the Morpho just standing in the middle of it, and like with this massive railgun. And in comparison, it dwarfs everything in there, you know? Just gives you this feeling of how fucking big that thing is.
I think to go on from that, actually we could probably just go straight to the next scene, because most of the fights was there basically was that first section of the episode, and the rest of it, there isn't much fighting to say aside from that one sequence later. We can probably either talk about that, or we can talk about Ernst's him
Yeah,
keeping his word to destroy the world if they were to die.
Yeah.
this scene really shows his earnesty.
He does stand up to be very, very like villain like when he does these moments. So
Very, very what like?
very villain like in these moments.
Ah,
It
okay. Villain,
feel
yes.
yeah, it feels really villainous like in these moments where he stands for his own ideals no matter how destructive it can be. And the scariest thing is
Yeah.
also that he has a point, as like other characters point out as well.
What's interesting about this that is he on the surface he seems like a very like, well, I don't want to say well-mannered, like a very balanced person with like a lot of common sense and like a good set of ideals. But then when it comes down to it, like almost like a fatalistic version of trying to force through these very well-measured ideals. Just kind of clashes with itself somehow. I don't know how to explain it. It's
Yeah,
really interesting.
the clashes between his like two personas, right? The president and the
Yeah.
father are really interesting. The interesting thing about his voice actor is just like he can play that sort of chill voice, but make it seem so scary.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that
Yeah.
he uses boku as his pronouns is so I don't know,
Huh.
it's weird
Okay.
to me.
It's humble. Like it's
And
a
he
very
also.
humble way of like referring to yourself, but he is in an absolute position of power, and what he's saying, like if anything, oozes power as well.
I think he knows very well when to switch on which persona, and I think what really helps it sell it is the sheer range of this voice actor. Because there are some of the scenes in early episodes where his voice gets really high and like really doesn't really fit his visage, his aura, you know. And I'm like, is this the same person? This is like a completely different character. Like how he speaks, how he presents himself is very flexible. Like this really reflects this ability to adapt and change depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
At least this was my impression. I don't know how you feel about it.
I think there's a like the whole two persona thing is definitely true, but I also feel like instead of it being a thing where he's strategically or he's consciously switching between them, it feels more like that he has kind of merged the two into one in the sense that he sees it as his role as the cold president of this country to do the things that like to like live up to the ideals that he holds, which is a part of what his
Yeah.
other persona is like of that of like a very caring father. That
Uses the president role to achieve the goals that he wants as a father, basically.
yes, and that kind
Yeah.
of like merges his two personas into one, where he would when he's angry, he is when he's angry and he uses his like very cold voice and tone. He is kind of going off of like, well, I'm just being a dad that's just really angry at all of this right now. But he's a person that definitely does keep his composure for most of the time.
Hmm.
And it doesn't seem like he's ever really surprised about many of these things as well. So we don't ever get to see him break in terms of like his character composure kind of break. He's always very in control and he flows really nicely.
Yeah, at times he presents himself as being vulnerable, but it's actually just him willingly doing so.
Yeah.
Like being the silly dead person, you know, like in other episodes we've seen him. It's really like he's always in control and how he presents himself. Like you said, it's really all very planned and all very. I don't know. It's there's never a point where we see him slip. That's true. Now, what I was thinking about earlier while you were speaking is, we know his family died. That seems to be very clear, and that he's using the kids as sort of a replacement, basically. And I wonder if this event where his family died was kind of like a catalyst to form this president persona, like becoming a leader in the resistance, or was he already like that before he lost his family?
I think he was the president persona first and father later, because he does like regret a lot of the things that he did with his family, and he does like he wish he did more, right? And then he's using them as a replacement. So I think the president persona came first.
Yeah. Do you think he was this at first this kind of ruthless person or calculating person, better,
Yeah.
but like a calculating person, and then he met his he met his wife probably and got his kiss, and somehow started to see like another side to life, another set of ideals he can pursue, and somehow along the way it kind of flipped maybe, where he concentrated more on his family and put more focus on these kinds of ideals, and they are more worthy to pursue basically. And then his family dies, and basically now he switches between the two, but he still focuses on the better life for people, for everyone to have a life after the war. So maybe it's like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, in a sense, he, like the many other characters in this core so far, they all lost something and therefore have only something left that they have to live for. And I think in Ernst's case, his family was probably his break from being the representative of the country. And it's just after losing the family, all that he has to live for is the ideals that he stands for. And that's why and it just so happens that
kind of a legacy.
yeah,
basically.
and similarly, like for if we go back a bit for Lena, she lost her personal connections to the previous generation of spearheads who are now in Federacy, and all she has to live for is their last orders to her, which is to catch up to them and to like continue staying alive. And that is also like in her case, she also lost something, and therefore now she only has this other thing that she's living for. To which that she's even not trying to be very personal with the spearheads anymore. Well, with her current team, and specifically with Shiden, where when Shiden asks Lena, why don't Lena use Shiden's real name, but her call sign when she asked for these real names?
It's a very controlled distance, basically, yes.
Yes. And if we take that further, we also have Fred, who lost her own protector and now is on a journey to try to defeat her caretaker, basically, at one point. And that's one thing that's pushing her to. Although they are more well adjusted than the 86 are, the 86 are very much a more extreme version of many of these, because at this point they didn't just lose everything and have only one thing to live for. They've lost literally everything and nothing else. They cannot live a normal life, and the only thing they can live for is to be on the battlefields. All the other characters still can stand for something in normal society because they're much more well adjusted.
Right, yes.
But 86 are incapable of doing that because they've lost much more than just like, it's hard to say just like they just lost their family, but it really is that they lost their family, their country, much of their childhood, much of their lives, and probably a lot more than that. Such that now that it's only just pride that remains.
Yeah, and this is basically circling back to what the series is actually about, which these in this core and in the volume 2 and 3 basically starts to develop as a central theme: how to cope with loss, how to live a normal life after such traumatic experiences, how to find a way to stand up again and try to live. Just live, which you didn't really think would happen after the first volume, I think, because you have a very different kind of expectation where it might go and what it is about. And then you get to this part and you start to realize, oh, I see now where this is going. With I said this before. It's like volume 1 is like a gauntlet where everybody got run through, and you saw who was gonna live at the end. And now the survivors had to somehow deal with it and try to to learn how to live, basically.
I really do enjoy the direction that 86 does take going forward, because instead of just focusing solely on racism and solely focusing on discrimination and how to fight against it, it also focuses on the effects it has on the people that is being victims of that discrimination. And I don't think there's very much in the anime sphere that takes into consideration how are these people feeling and why aren't they fighting back. Because usually when you read a racism story, you read a discrimination story, the oppressed peoples are willing to fight back. They want to fight back. They want to rise against their oppressors. But here, there's a sense
It's
of
the classic
pride.
story, yes.
Here, there's a sense of pride to the 86 where they don't want to become the same as them, and they don't want to leave them to the Legion. And even now, they continue that pride, saying we have to fight because
Yes.
what was the point of our comrades dying before us if we do not keep fighting? There's more to it than just wanting to fight to prove their oppressors
And
wrong.
I think like with that, it also is 86 also portrays one aspect of racism that I find I'm not as maybe not as well read as a lot of people, but it is not common for I think a lot of media that decides to deal with racism to write a fictional story that depicts soft racism as or discrimination in general with such like vivid detail of like the what happens and what each side of the characters feel like in a very realistic sense because when people are when the 86 reach the Federacy, the other soldiers start giving them nicknames based on what they have become and begins to discriminate against them because they are feeling extremely otherworldly and other. They're capable of different things that are seemingly like inhumane in a certain way, and they begin to treat them different. And that doesn't mean those people, because they discriminate against them, have an incredible amount of hate for these group of people, such that they don't want them to exist or whatnot. Out of a fear of like what these people are capable of is something that they cannot understand.
So what you're trying to say is, like the racism is not one-dimensional, not depicted as
Right.
like this one thing. It's just it has multiple facets and
Right, like
multiple
because in Volume
motivations.
One, it is very much like a very like it is the extremes of racism, right? You have people literally thrown into camps for the fact that they are of a different race.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's like one extreme. And then in Core 2, which is Volume 2 and 3, you see like the softer parts of like discrimination and racism in play. That these people are treated as the other, and in turn, there is an understanding that's kind of been thrown about by both the character of Eugen and Frederica that like a part of the fault does lie on the 86 that they do not communicate. They self-exclude themselves from the rest, which only feeds into the growing sense of fear of the other that the rest of the people have towards them. Not that it is entirely a fault of the 86 for doing so, because they are fundamentally very broken people. They were broken by a very traumatic past that they had. So it's not like they are necessarily ready for this, but these things kind of feed into each other to create an environment that results in this like discrimination towards the 86, even though they're away from the country that originally were racist towards.
Yes, through their past experience, the situation kind of perpetuates itself. Like you said, they start to start this process of I don't know. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, actually, where they think, we are different than them. They can never understand how we feel, what we went through. So we are different than them. And they project outwards, and in turn, the other people notice this, notice how different they are, and also shut themselves off from them, basically.
Yeah, which is also why Eugene was able to connect with Shin because he didn't have that bias when he was first meeting him. He didn't know that Shin was an
Yeah.
86 when they first met.
Wasn't he actually written as like a blend of Lena
Yeah,
and his brother?
yeah,
I
Yeah,
think I remember that.
and
Something like
but,
that, yeah.
but even when Eugene didn't know Shin was an 86, they just like talked normally. They were able to connect, and even when after he learned, he continued to talk to him because well, he knows he's not a monster. He knows he's not like the rumors say he is. If you get what I'm saying.
He's not different,
Yeah. He doesn't have a bias
basically.
against him, which is really
Well, it's not that he's not different. It's he is different in a way, but he understands why, and it doesn't bother him. More like that, I
bother.
guess.
I'd probably put
I don't
that
know.
just kind of. I don't know if this is what you were trying to say, but it's not that it doesn't bother him. It's that I think
Yeah.
he sees the more whole picture of like who this person is. That he's not just the monster that is on the battlefield, and that like everybody else, there are things that
Mm.
he fears or cares about. Because he's one of the few Federated soldiers that has had interactions with Shin outside of the military. Very much where they meet each other in the library, talk about
That's
books,
true.
and like, oh, he's also taking care of
Mm.
a sister as well. So there's much more to him than just the bloodthirsty, battle frenzied monster that is the 86 in the eyes of your average soldier. I think that's what I'm saying.
Also because he
that was
because he gets to see him outside of this environment and act differently, because we know that the 86 are just used to be in this military environment and automatically have this almost autopilot on how to behave there and have this really standoffish professional kind of behavior. And then you have like Gene meeting him in a library, some other context, and this is actually just the mere chance of seeing them act differently in another environment that sets him apart there. Like, because he got this chance, he got to know him in another way, I guess.
Yeah, but even in the military itself, it's also possible to like not feed into the rumors like Greta did, or like the mechanic girl did. You know, they don't have that sort of same bias against the 86 because
Sure.
well, they've learned to understand them now. They've learned to grow closer to them. Same
They were
goes
willing to understand them.
yeah.
That's
Same
true,
goes with the mercenaries that they fight with
Nordlicht is.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, that's. I think that would be the wrap for that. And I think if we discuss any more, we would be going way too deep into spoilers territory and down into very deep volumes.
yeah.
Yeah, that was quite the tangent.
Let's see. For the,
We want to continue to
I think for the episode
with the scenes, or what are we doing?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think the last thing we could probably talk about is the flashback, and maybe Zerny, you want to talk about the call signs,
Yeah.
just for a bit, since there are new names that are being dropped in this
Yeah, sure.
episode. So why don't you start with that?
Oh, you want me to talk about all the names, right? Okay, so let's start with Pale Rider, right? Pale Rider is the embodiment of death, or specifically, what was it? Disease?
No, it's actually death.
It's actually just death. Okay.
Yeah, I looked it up earlier. It's like from the Bible. But like he was one of the 4 riders that came at the apocalypse, basically, and he was the last one, the one who embodied death.
Yeah, with Kiriya, it's obvious why he's named that. He is the legion that can wreak the most havoc, and he will flatten cities in an instant if he has the range to do it.
You could draw a parallel still, because in the Bible he's like the harbinger of death. He's death itself. He brings the end of the world, basically, which is the apocalypse. You could draw a parallel here with the Legion being the apocalypse, basically, for the continent. No.
Yeah, in the novels, I think it was explained that the large scale offensive, which happened a few episodes ago, was supposed to last for 7 days, which
I
the
see.
connections with the apocalypse there.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, but the plan failed due
Yeah,
to
interesting.
Shin. Moving on to Shin,
Yeah.
we have his new call sign here, Balega. Should I spoil how he got that nickname, or is that really a spoiler, do you think, or
I don't think
should I
it's
leave it?
that heavy of a spoiler. So I think just we're gonna spoil what that nickname is coming from.
He got this from one of his old captains when he was still just like starting out as a processor. And Balega means flaming eye, and it's another name for the All Father in Norse mythology, Odin. If you know anything about Odin, he's often seen as a seer or a prophet, and that also fits really well with Shin, who is able to hear and predict the movements of the Legion. Another parallel to Odin.
Also, red eyes.
Yeah, red eyes. Another parallel
Yeah.
to Odin would be how Odin would gather the souls of esteemed warriors and gather them in Valhalla for whatever purposes he has for that, and then Shin gathering the tags of his fallen comrades and carrying their memories. So that box of his is basically
Yeah,
his
that's
Valhalla.
yeah, his box of souls is.
There's more parallels later on, but that would go into spoiler territory. So I don't think I should cover that here.
Okay.
Is there any other name you want me?
Well, the HQ from Giant. What was the name again?
Leira. I don't know much about that. Leira.
Yeah, it's like an alternative name of Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life, also from Norse mythology.
Lots of names from Norse mythology, if anything.
Yeah, Asato loves Norse mythology.
I think
she really does, yes.
I think that probably will be it for the names, actually, since
At least the ones that were mentioned this episode, yes.
You want to talk about
I
No
think so.
Face, or is that a spoiler?
That would probably be a spoiler, but I guess there isn't. It's quite a literal name as well. There's not as much like there.
I mean, we talked about theories, why it's No Face and the motivations of No Face, but I think that would take too long to get
Probably
into.
skip No Face for now.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And
Maybe
I
not this point.
think just for the last bit, well, not the last bit, but we can probably go through the flashback sequence real quick. And the flashback specifically in this case, it is Kiriya, the shepherd that pilots the Morpho, his flashback. And from what we know from previous episodes, he was a personal guard or like protector, butler, or whatever you want to call it, of Frederica. And they were really close, such that she sees him as like almost a big brother. Originally, he fought to defend her towards the end of Gilead's revolution, but he had thought that she had died, even though she was protected away by Ernst, and that sent Kiriya into a frenzy and gave up on the world because he lost his one meaning to continue living.
I'm not actually sure. Did she actually actively wanted to become a legion to take revenge, or was he just taken by them? That's the question.
Like,
I'm not actually sure.
The Legion was just there in the area, but he didn't really resist either, did he?
He didn't resist, no.
He
That's
probably
the
just
thing.
got, he
He
probably
was
just
willingly
got, he
taken by them.
fought till he died. And maybe at the last bit, like he could have survived, but he chose to be taken because that way he can continue to, like he said, to kill them and kill them all, basically. And he probably, even if he maybe was willingly taken, it was maybe less willingly taken than just he probably didn't care if he was taken because his goal at that point was just kill as much as he can. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. It was not a calculated effort to become one.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the flashback and from Kiriya's perspective, how he saw his relationship with Fred.
It just came to me. What I thought was very interesting was the choice of colors and like the tone of how the scene was set. Like very warm colors, very idyllic kind of I don't know, surroundings where they were in, like this almost like a little paradise, so to speak. So with all I had.
It's very reminiscent to the scenes with Ray, where he was holding Shin and were reading the book together.
Oh yeah, yes, indeed. Like these happy memories of better times, I guess, that he looked back upon, like Ray did maybe in his Legion body as well.
And I think with the parallels to Ray and Shin, that brings back the well, not necessarily bring back, but it circles back to the idea that Fred is a younger sibling that lost her older brother, and Shin is also somebody who has lost his older brother as well. So there's that connection between them that allows them to kind of understand each other better, but also why, in a way, why Fred has been unable to like really convince Shin to move on, despite like having said some pretty harsh things about how he should move on from like his brother's death and whatnot. Because I think she herself she hasn't moved on from Kiriya. So
yeah, and she like trying to force him to switch role from younger to older brother, basically.
Yeah, and
for her, yeah.
I think for the flashback, there is just that one bit at the end where we finally see, where we see Kiriya's frenzied moment of seeing the flag that pronounced the death of the Empress, which was what sent him into a blooded rage.
Yeah, visually very expressive moment. Well, it was very well done. It was very expressive and very, like a really hard cut to the scene before, to this idyllic atmosphere, I guess.
Yeah.
Like an abrupt end.
I guess that would be it for just a flashback. I guess I could probably tack on a little bit more for the flashback, just to be talking about around the flashback scene. It is surrounded by the bit of us finally seeing the Morpho in action, literally moving and squirming. And honestly, all I can really say about it is very well done in that the way the legs move and the sound effect that goes with it gives a very eerie kind of sound, like as if you were listening to like literally a mechanical bug trying to like crawl across a surface, where you can hear the sound of like a really weird engine sound that's unhumanly in it. And also, just moving the hundreds of legs it has is pain.
Going back to the flashback scene, there was actually this one little tidbit where I was thinking, what could this mean? Like, do you remember she tried to climb a tree, and there was this nest of little birds with blue feathers, like really strikingly blue feathers, and then she gets back down. He catches her, and the little blue feather
Mhm.
is still stuck to her hair. And I thought, this looks so out of place somehow. And then I don't know if it's like a parallel to her being like this little baby bird still stuck in her nest, like this like a little sign that she's still, I don't know, at that moment she's still protected by him, basically. This little baby chick not venturing outside the nest, basically. Thought that was very interesting. Maybe I'm reaching there, but I thought it might be like a explanation why
It
they
certainly
showed it
seems
like that.
deliberate.
I
So
don't know. You probably have to. Yeah, it
Well, they wouldn't animate a
could be,
feather
yes.
on her for
I don't
no
know.
reason.
yeah,
In this show, at least, not no.
I don't think I don't have any ideas on what that might be
Because
actually. Though,
Well, we know blue is like the
right.
color of the Legion, but I don't know if that.
Well, I'm actually thinking more like because the feather itself looks kind of broken as well. So, is it meant to imply that in order to get her down, that the birds have also suffered for it? Because the feather is not a complete feather; it is a
maybe
chunk of
could
a
be.
bit of a feather, not the full thing. So that's possible
Yeah.
as a explanation for that. Yeah,
Yeah, her innocence was surprised,
and maybe why
basically.
she's
Yeah.
also crying as well. Well, that might just be because she was in a high place and she had no way of going down.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, that's
Although now that I look at it, it just looks like these little downs the young birds have,
mm,
actually. I don't think it's actually that crooked. It's just like these little small little feathers of these downs. Maybe I'm just seeing it differently, but the other explanation might as well be true. I don't know. I think it's not really a very clear-cut case on what it
mm,
maybe means, and if there is meaning behind it. But it's certainly a neat little thing to think about.
yeah. I think
I don't have anything more to say really. So
Hmm?
all right. I think that
Yeah,
I think that will probably be
try
the
to
end of the
remember.
episode. There really
Is
isn't
there
much
still
left. The
something
rest of it
left?
is just little things
Yeah, I think
like Greta's nickname. Yeah, and also
repairs at the
I
base and stuff,
guess
huh?
Fred kind of
Yeah.
being scared despite making her speech in that moment. That was a little bit.
Uh,
There's a little bit of a character there to see that she is also like forcing herself to say these things, and she is actually afraid that they will actually like do
mm,
something to her if she because she's basically done something that like they can't forgive. They have a hard time forgiving, probably in her head at least. Yeah, but I
yeah,
think that would actually
yeah.
mark the end of this.
I think I remembered one thing I still want to talk about. I think it seems like every episode we have these blink and you miss moments of expressions, especially with Shin. In this episode, we actually have one as well, where they show his hand, his grip on the it's a joystick, I guess, from his reckonave. Just a little tiny second. I think it was after he snapped out of this frenzy, and they said, "Let's move on." And Shin had to lead them forward, and it was this tiny little
Mhm.
scene where his hand was shaking before he composed himself again. It was really interesting. Just these little lapses of him, like slowly slipping away from the control of, well, or at least like almost an illusion of control at this point.
I think I might know what that means.
Yeah,
The novel
go ahead.
had a monologue
Hmm.
about that.
Ah,
Yeah, it was basically
do you
him
remember?
realizing that Kiriya did not complete his mission. Kiriya did not save Frederica, right?
Yeah,
So if it was him realizing that if Shin didn't kill Rei, if Shin failed to do that, would he have become just like Kiriya?
yeah,
And in some aspects, he's already become somewhat like Kiriya, but he's not.
yeah,
He doesn't have that sort of hatred to the world. With the difference
Which
between
is
the two.
kind of why probably he said that
yeah,
line. It must be nice to
true.
be able to like flaunt your hatred like that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because
it
Shin
makes
probably
it
himself
easy
has a
or
hard
something like
time.
that, yeah. Something like that,
He
yeah.
he probably has a lot of bottled emotions where like he hates how things are, but he can't bring himself to hate the world the same way that like Kiriya is, and that might be why he wished that
Yeah,
would probably be easier on himself because then he would just forget everything and just be mad at everything instead.
I just wanted to mention it because it seems like these little moments are always tied to monologues that are, of course, not really voiced out, but somehow they managed very well to, well, at least convey the gist of what he's feeling in that moment. It's really neat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that
Well,
would
I think that's all from
be
me.
the end of talking about the episode at the very least. Do we want to still go over the future episodes planning, or okay,
I think we're good for
we
now.
can
I think
probably
we're
set that for next
almost at an
time
hour
then.
at least,
Yeah.
so I think it's a good length. Yeah, sure. I mean, depending on how our free time is, we could maybe
Okay.
somewhere,
All right.
sometime next week, maybe try another one.
All right. Well,
We'll see. Even if
yeah,
even
this
if it's
was
a
a
short one, just
extended
about that.
dive into certain aspects of episode 19 of
Oh
86
yeah,
and a few despite despite the
lots of
tangents,
tangents. How
well,
we
in
do it.
spite of the tangents, we were able to complete
Yeah.
it. So, all right,
Yeah.
thank you, and
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for listening. If you know,
Thanks for listening.
Yes.
If this ever sees the light of day, we will see.
We could just upload it raw
Oh,
somewhere
it's
and
gonna
have the
be
86 code listen.
Oh my God. Are you sure you want that? Are you really sure?
Like,
I'm okay with that.
for the
Like,
lols, man.
honestly, at this point,
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
All right.
As long as it is contained
Watch
and
it
doesn't
blow
get
off
out
on
there, just
YouTube.
like that.
Just be
I'm fine
like,
with it. Yes.
what the fuck are these three idiots talking about? And then it gets
Sure.
like viral or some shit.
Yeah. Some with some memes overlaid, like visually,
Oh yeah,
with some
that's
stupid
totally
shit. I don't
possible.
know.